Welcome to another episode of We Don't Die, where my goal is to give you evidence that although our bodies will certainly disappear, we survive physical death. I'm your host, Sandra Champlain, author of the book We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And today on our show, we have Elissa Al Chokhachy. Elissa is an award-winning hospice and palliative care nurse, a fellow in thanatology, and an award-winning author of 4 books to help with loss and grief. She teaches a Life After Life graduate seminar on near-death studies at Hood College in Frederick, Maryland, and has worked in the hospice field for over 24 years. Her most recent books, Miraculous Moments and Our Children Live On, are filled with numerous accounts of after-death communication, nearing-death awareness, and near-death experiences. Elissa passionately cares for the dying and the bereaved, and it is clear Elissa Al Chokhachy's life is dedicated to bringing comfort, healing, and hope for all. For more information about Elissa and her books, you can visit her website, which is miraculousmoments.com, or if you're on Facebook, go to her Facebook page and go to Facebook and type in Miraculous Moments. So Elissa Al Chokhachy, welcome to We Don't Die Radio.
Thank you so very much, Sandra. It's a joy to be here with you.
Yes, it is a joy to be here with you. And to our listener, usually at the beginning of the show, I say, well, Elissa, where are you from? Where are you talking to us from? And you want to just share, and then I can share where I am?
Yeah, well, I live in Amesbury, Massachusetts.
And I live in Byfield, Massachusetts. And just before I called Elissa, we found out Amesbury and Byfield are maybe 10 minutes apart. So we are neighbors. And I love it. And we both looked at each other's pictures. It's like, I know you. So maybe it's from the grocery store. I don't know. But I think this is just the beginning of a good relationship.
For sure.
I do. Elissa, tell us a little bit about you because, oh gosh, maybe even just way back at the beginning, because I know as kids sometimes things happen and it sets us in the direction we want to go. But I mean, I think it takes a very, very special person to do what you're doing as far as career-wise, and maybe a little bit about your past and how you got into this.
Well, I love work as a hospice nurse because I really feel that it's probably the area we can impact people the greatest in the sense of actually seeing the difference of what you do in their lives. And it's not about we know they're going to pass. However, our goal is to maximize the quality of their time here until they do. And so it's helping them in lots of different ways. Some of it is like physical, medications or, symptom management or whatever. But there's also this spiritual piece. Mm-hmm. And I love that about hospice. Hospice is very holistic. So it's part of my job as a hospice nurse to address that spiritual side when it is needed. And so we'll just say that's what I love about hospice in particular.
Right.
Now, I would say it was really a personal experience I had that absolutely convinced me beyond anything I know in this world that there is life after death. And this happened to me when I was 23 years old. I was a brand new nurse, and my eldest cousin who I grew up with, Stefan, was, I actually grew up with him. I lived with them. My brother and I lived with them in Knoxville, Tennessee for 9 years. And he was tragically killed in a car accident. And what happened with him and me 2 weeks later is what convinced me.
What happened?
So what I want to say is he came to visit me. And it was in the early morning hours. I wasn't quite awake. I wasn't asleep. But it was more real than anything I know. I can tell you 100% it was not a dream because the colors in the experience were brighter than anything in this reality. The emotions that I felt were intensified. like way, way, way more. So like if I was sad, I was almost in despair. Or if I was happy, I was like jumping over the moon with ecstasy. So I pivoted between the highs and lows of emotion, which doesn't normally happen in my everyday life. And then I can as clearly remember it today. And now it's been like 38 years. I can still as clearly remember this experience today as when it happened back then. So the experience started when I was, actually in the woods. And we grew up, we played in the woods a lot. And so the experience starts out, I'm by myself in the woods, and I'm looking all around, and the leaves are like so brilliant green beyond what you can imagine. And I'm like looking at them in awe. And there is this overgrown dirt road that's running in front of me. And I glimpse something's coming to me from the right. So I look over to my right, and down comes the road. On this dirt road through the woods is this brilliant, stark white unicorn. Now you're going to say, unicorns are not real. Right. Doesn't matter. This is what I thought too.
Yeah.
To myself in the experience. I'm saying, wait a minute, unicorns aren't real. This is not real. But this unicorn runs right past me, so close that I probably could have touched it if I had reached out. But it whisks right by me and goes, from the right to the left and off down the woods. And so I said, well, they must be real, because there it is. And when I talk about white, I'm talking about like luminescent, like it's shimmering beyond white. It's just, this was the colors in this experience, which are not in our normal drab everyday reality.
Right. Correct.
So I go running down this dirt path, after the unicorn, and eventually the unicorn brings me to the edge of the woods, interestingly, next to the field, next to the house where I grew up with Stefan. Now, by now, the unicorn has, because he was obviously galloping, I was running, I was not going to catch up with him, but he had already gotten to the other side of the field by the time I got to the beginning of it. And I know I wasn't going to catch him. And over to the right side is our childhood home, but like 100 feet in front of me, straight in front of me, is my cousin Stefan. And I cannot believe my eyes, because he had died, but yet there he was.
Right.
So I go like tearing across this field as fast as I possibly can, and I run up to him, and I grab him and I hug him. And I'm just like saying over and over, I'm like, oh my God, Stefan, you're alive. You're alive. You're alive. And he said, of course I'm alive, Elissa. Of course I'm alive. And the other thing is, I could physically feel him in my arms. And when do you like feel in a dream? I mean, but I fully embraced him. And just to give you a visual, like I'm 5'2" and my cousin is 6'2". So we're hugging each other. I'm looking up at him and he's looking down at me, and just hugging and loving every minute. I didn't want to let him go. But then all of a sudden, I remembered that my cousin was in that car accident he had when he actually had 95% burns of his body from that accident. And you know what? As a nurse, I did a rotation through Shriners Burn Institute in Boston for children. And I remember just those dressing changes for those poor little kids. And I remember thinking, oh my God, Elissa, how could you have forgotten he was burned? And you've just squeezed the daylights out of him. Like, what the heck have you done?
Right.
So now I think I've hurt him. So my tears of joy go to tears of shame.
Yeah.
And now I'm apologizing. I'm like, Stefan, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. And he's just looking down at me, smiling. And he's like, Elissa, it's all right. I don't hurt anymore. And I was like, whoa, he's alive. He's totally healed. And, the look on his face is one of such peace and such love and joy, just beautiful. I mean, incredible. And I'm looking at him, and as I'm looking at this, I see all those qualities, but there's something else that's different. And I said, Stephen, I said, where are your glasses? Because we all wore glasses, all my cousins and I and brother. And he goes, Elissa, I don't need glasses. I can see. I'm like, oh my God, he's alive. He's totally healed, and he's got 20/20 vision. So I'm like, oh my God, Stephen, wait a minute. And I step back, and suddenly this camera appears in my right hand. I said, Stephen, I said, I just want to take a picture because I want to remember this moment for all of eternity. And so, eventually he finally agrees to let me take his picture, and I go to snap the picture. And then the whole dreamlike experience ended. That whole sequence, it wasn't a dream, but that experience ended. And of course it ended because Kodak paper, which is what we had back in those days, right? Kodak paper could have never captured the spiritual significance of what happened to me with Stephen. Because when I came to my full awareness, my full consciousness, I knew to my core that my cousin was alive, totally healed, happier, and more at peace than I ever knew him in this life. And it healed my grief. And a dream doesn't heal your grief. But to my core, I knew he was alive. And so I was 23 years old. I didn't find myself working as a hospice nurse until I was 33, 34. And that's when I really felt like the huge impact, because now I could go into homes and help patients who were given a life-limiting illness, or their caregivers who are facing this loss of this most precious person in their life, and be able to be fully present. Like, they're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You're going to be totally healed and better than you ever knew.
That is such good news. When you're telling your story, I've interviewed a lot of people that have had near-death experiences, and they say that the memory of it, and same thing about wherever it was that you went, or cosmic consciousness or whatever it is there's colors you haven't seen before, everything's vibrant, everything's alive, and you remember it even clearer than any memory you've ever had, and it stays strong. And yours sounds like the same.
It feels like it when I talk about the near-death experience, what people go through and how it transforms their life. This definitely was life-changing. It was life-changing because I saw him. I felt him. He was healed.
I just thought about something in my own life. It's so easy to forget some things, but I had taken just a little nap one day, and I was still awake, and I knew I was awake, and I felt like I was, kind of sinking into my bed, and next thing you know, I felt like I was spinning a little bit, and like all of these gold, beautiful lights appeared, and I heard unbelievable piano music, and my grandmother's face showed up, like as real, and I reached out and I kissed her, and then I think I kind of shocked myself, like, I'm not asleep, I'm still here in the bed, and then all of a sudden it was gone. But it was so freaking real. I mean, it was like, and it spooked me in a good way, but it's like, what the heck was that? Where did I go? Like, what, and I don't know, you just told that story and I remembered that. I'm like, that was real. No one can ever tell me I was asleep and experienced that. No way.
Wow. And was it in the early morning hours?
I think it was. Yeah. No, well, it wasn't too early, but I mean, it was, when you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm going to sleep a little bit more. And
yes.
Yeah, I think it was like that.
So I think you were in the theta state, and
maybe
we can access the different realms in that state, which is what you did and what I did.
We'll have to talk more about that. Very cool. So then after that experience, and so you were a nurse at that time? Or are you going?
I was actually an operating room nurse at the time, okay. So that's farthest, and certainly not hospice. No. But again, you kind of put it, you kind of keep going on with your life, and then lots of things have happened over the years that confirmed it. So I would say, when I went into hospice and I felt the need of people, desperate need to know that their loved ones were going to be okay, I couldn't obviously share it with everybody. I couldn't share with many people, actually, what happened with me, because the time has to be right. Number one, their belief system has to be right. You have to have the time, you know.
And you start talking about unicorns. I'm like, oh my God. Sorry. That's just where my mind.
Well, no. I also had, there were lots of responsibilities that I had. And so God would just absolutely orchestrate me where I needed to be and I would feel an inner prompting. I would know when I was called to say something to a particular family member or patient, but usually the family member. And then if I followed that inner knowing, that intuition, then I would find out that because I went out on a limb and said something, they might turn around and share something with me that perhaps they never told another person on the planet.
Oh, what a gift that is.
No one else. And the only reason they shared it with me is because they knew I was going out and I would not criticize them or judge them in any way. So that's, in those early days, this was in the 90s when this was happening. And I remember thinking, wow, God put me at the right place at the right time. And I thought it was a rare experience in the early 90s.
Okay.
And, but what I have found out as I've gone on, the more I've talked with people, I would say that the majority of people have either had a personal experience with someone who has passed over or know someone who has.
Right. I agree with that. Ever since my book came out, I had the guts now to say, I'm an author. Even your story of talking to people in hospice, it's not for everybody. I've been sitting on airplanes. People ask me what I do. And my day job is I'm a chef for race car teams. And I travel. And so that's my, usual thing. And then that little voice comes in and says, tell them about the book, And then I'm like, and I'm an author. And then people say, or they don't, well, what'd you write? And then I tell them the title. And then sometimes I get these looks and someone just lost a close relative a few days before that or something. And it's just, you do have to listen to that voice, that intuition when it comes. And when you tell something about yourself that's so personal, it really does provide an opening for someone else to be able to trust and to share. And what a beautiful bond that creates.
For sure. And I would call what you were talking about, here you are sitting on the airplane next to that person who's just lost that loved one. I call it divine orchestration. Like God knows who needs to connect with you, with me, with all those people, who can give them hope, help them get through. And maybe it's the angels on the other side, their angels, our angels, who knows, but knows that there's something that we have to offer. And I'm sure they offer us. By the opportunity to be able to share what we do.
And I just want to share this with you and our listener. You don't have to be a published author to be able to bare your soul and have somebody respond. I mean, long before I even wrote the book, sometimes, just when you share some personal stuff about yourself or what you love, I mean, it allows people to share their stuff. And the next thing you know, some out of your mouth can come some of the best advice that can really change somebody's life and vice versa. So, I think we all live life thinking we're not special, but you know what? We are, and we all have a lot of smarts and wisdom and stuff. So how about some of these stories of some of the things that you've witnessed that's given you more reassurance that we don't die and that you're on the right track?
Well, I'd also like to just mention something that I discovered in hospice, is that do you know that it is common for someone who is dying to be visited by deceased loved ones in the last days or weeks of life?
I've heard that.
Yes. It's quite fascinating. You could walk into a room, no one else is in the room that you can see anyway,
right,
but they could be having a conversation with someone. And it's a two-way conversation. Yeah, no, etc. They often will speak in symbolic terms, like in metaphors. They'll talk about I'm going home, but they don't mean their physical home. They mean their spiritual home. Or pack my bags, get me ready. I'm going on a trip, or I'm whatever. So people often, the dying, I really do feel in my heart, enter a heightened spiritual state in those last days or weeks of life. And I feel that they have a foot in both worlds. They're partly here, they're partly there, and I think they may even consciousness-wise go back and forth. Because sometimes you walk in and you'll see them kind of jump. And it's like, and they may be a little confused. And see, I think they can see things that we can't see.
That's great. I've heard those stories. Yeah.
Yeah. And one patient of mine who was really a sweetheart of a lady, great teacher for me, I actually saw her twice over a period of time. The first time was just an ordinary visit. I was doing a visit for another nurse, and this lady was still up and about. She had colon cancer, but she was still walking a mile every day because, around the block, because she was not going to give in to her cancer. And she was feisty and fun. You would have loved her. And I just remember saying to myself, yeah, I'm going to remember her. She's what I want to be. It's my turn. I just want to be like her. I'm not giving in.
Right.
And then, but, time passes. We'll just say 6 months, 9 months. I'm not exactly sure how long it was. But now I'm on call for hospice. And I get a call from one of her 2 daughters and says, can you please come check our mom, because she seems a little distant. And so I go, and now this is a very different lady, than what I saw. And now she's bedbound. She's in a hospital bed, but she's very peaceful looking, which is not to say that not everyone is, but she has an unusual quality about peacefulness about her that I haven't often seen. So but I go in and I ask her questions, and I'm calling her Eleanor, just that's not her real name, but I said, Eleanor, you having any pain? And she's like, no. And she just says, a smile is, any concerns? No. And, I check her vital signs and everything's okay. I mean, nothing's telling me she's going to die, tonight, but she's definitely in a different place. And one of the things that the dying do is they kind of separate from this reality. It isn't a conscious decision. It's more of an inner journey that they take. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't mean that they don't love those loved ones around them. They surely do. But it's now they're preparing. And so they're not interested in watching the TV or reading the newspaper anymore or having those conversations. It tends to be a very quiet time. So she didn't offer a lot. She answered my questions and smiled every time, clearly not in any pain at all. And I, went out afterwards, told her daughters that I felt like she was in the beginning stages of actively dying, and did the preparation I needed to do with them, and then went back one more time to her. And one thing my own little personal thing is, before I leave a home, I like to know that I've done something to make it better there for that patient. Mm-hmm. But this woman didn't need any intervention on my part. She was perfectly calm and comfortable. But, and I knew I had prepared her daughters, which was so important. But still, so I come back to, do you have any pain? And she says, no. And I said, are you afraid at all? And I mean, I don't always go here, but there was really nothing for me to do. And I said, are you afraid at all? And she said, no. And I said, and I never had said it before, and I never have said it since. But in this particular situation, this is one of those where I follow my inner prompting, right?
Yeah. So
I said, well, if you ever do get afraid, I said, just look for the light. And she says, oh, I do.
Oh.
And I said, you do? And she says, all the time. And so her daughters remember that her daughters had told me she was in this state for like 2 or 3 days, this very distant state. So I said, Eleanor, I said, what does the light feel like? She said, it's very warm and comforting, and it lets me know there's nothing I have to worry about.
Wow.
Wow. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, and I said, Eleanor, I said, what is the light? She says, for me or for you? And I said, for you, of course. She said, it's God's love for me.
Wow. I'm just having flashbacks to so many people that have told stories of near-death experiences. Again, just this feeling of unconditional love and
Yes.
the light. And I just had this image of, when it's our turn, just however old we are, just seeing a light and just being kind of wrapped in the arms of that, if you want to call it God's love, just how, yeah, there's no fear there. That's just...
There was no fear. And she smiled, her eyes sparkled. She was peaceful. She'd been peaceful. I mean, wouldn't it be something if everybody knew that, there's nothing to be afraid of?
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. And I think that's one of the reasons that I'm passionate about talking to so many people, interviewing people like yourself, is to take away some of that fear.
Yes.
Because the more stories we hear, the more it's like, you know what, this is real. I can't listen to the little voice in my head that's saying, this is crazy stuff. This is real.
It's so real. It's so real. And the more we talk, as you know, the more you learn. Don't you, like everywhere you go and you open up and they tell you something and it's like one more, oh yes, thank you. I just keep saying, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Because it's one more affirmation. It's one more affirmation. You talk to the people who've had the near-death experiences, right? Their lives, as you said, are changed. They're changed forever. And they know they lose their fear of death. Now, if anybody ought to be afraid of death, the people who died, it's like heart stopped, the breathing stopped. If there was a reason to be afraid, but they're just like transformed by that experience they had of being bathed in that, as you said, unconditional but unlimited love.
Yeah.
Just love beyond our wildest dreams. No judgment ever, ever, just complete acceptance. I remember this one gentleman who told me that, and he was a biker and who had a near-death experience. And he said, when he got over there, he said, it was like everything was perfect. He said, now, there were all these people around me. I didn't know them, who they were, but I knew that I knew them. He said, it was like you were the best day of your life with all your best friends out. Everything was perfect. The temperature was perfect. You couldn't have asked for a more, just perfect. He couldn't even get beyond the perfection of the moment. It was like your best possible moment, day ever in all your whole life. That's what it felt like the whole time you're over there.
I love that.
Another thing I thought was interesting about what he had to say was, he was a biker and, he'd gone through some different, actually a Hell's Angel.
It's a tough guy. Yeah.
A tough guy. He's a tough guy. And he said, all my life, he says, I would say to, God, wait till I get to the other side. I got some questions to ask you. I got questions to ask you. So he said, when he's on the other side, he said, I was over there and he said, I didn't have any more questions because I already knew the answers.
Wow.
The questions were gone because on that side, you are in all awareness. You are in a heightened understanding.
Do you have any insight from any of your research or just intuitive on the word suffering? I'm seeing, and I know you've seen many people die. I only was with my dad, and there was huge amounts of suffering, and I know there are people listening right now that are watching people suffer, and any divine reasoning or anything you can shed a light on, because this all sounds well and good, but sometimes the exit is incredibly painful.
Well,
And you may not, but I
just want to say, to make sure, and I'm sorry that your dad suffered, and I am so sorry that there are so many family members that do see loved ones suffering, because those memories are hard to let go of. But number one, I don't know what your dad was going through in particular, but I would say make sure you're in the hands of experts to help minimize any suffering that might be there. So make sure you're with, a hospice
Yep.
pain experts. I don't know if that's what your dad was going through. There's lots of ways to make people comfortable. And I think people are reluctant to come on board to hospice because they feel like they're giving up hope. But our focus is to, like I said, really maximize that time here on earth. So get them as comfortable as they can be. Now, in rare situations, we can't get them comfortable. And that's it's hard on us because we want to make it better for them.
Right.
But just make sure that, I also believe that, make sure that your doctor is one who really hears and listens and doesn't have a problem with offering pain medication. I mean, hospice will advocate for you on your behalf. We really want to give you whatever it is that's going to make you comfortable. There's no such thing as too much medication. Obviously, you're not going to get from A to, huge amounts overnight, but everything is really actually calculated based on, okay, you're using this much. Okay, now you need this much more. Okay, we're going to, figure it out. Each time we do a bump, it's a mathematical calculation in pain medication until we finally get, and sometimes it's a combination of medication. So I wish I had a magic bullet for you.
Oh, so do I. Yeah, but you don't. And I think too, oh gosh, I don't even want to say this like this, but everybody's got their own views and their own belief systems. And my dad was extremely Catholic, and all he wanted to do was Jesus's work. And there's a part in the Bible that has something to do with suffering, and the more you suffer, the closer you'll sit by Jesus's side, or something like that. And so just intuitively, I just kept reading it to my dad, and that's the only way I could make sense of it. And he was one that they kept bumping up the pain medication until
they did.
Until he was out.
Dad.
Yeah.
So there are some, Eastern traditions that believe that suffering is really the burning of karma. When you suffer, you're actually burning off karma from the past. So it's really a blessing to suffer.
Wow. I've asked so many people that question, and I like yours the best.
I really do believe it. I really do believe it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and again, there's so many people with so many stories, and who's right, who's wrong, and I think for each one of us that you really have to look inside and what resonates. And anyone who's listened to one of my episodes here, it's really about getting some really great evidence that you will survive death, like you go on, but also like how can you be empowered to live your life now? So I don't live a life like of blaming the doctors or blaming suffering, because truth is, without Dad going the way he did, I would have never done my research on grief and afterlife things and had the book and be talking to you right now. So
yeah, there was purpose in your father's suffering, wasn't there? Now
there definitely was.
So there is divine orchestration with that. And your dad, that was a gift that your dad gave you. That was a final gift.
Yeah, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When we look back on some of the most painful things that have happened in our life, you can certainly be a victim, or you can look to see where you've grown, or now you've got some tools that you can help someone else who's gone through it. So sometimes you can bless the bad things that have happened. Elissa, I want to ask you a little bit about your books that you have, because you've got 4 of them, I see. You could have more than that, but yeah, I mean, even just the titles, The Angel with the Golden Glow, A Family's Journey Through Loss and Healing.
Actually inspired by a little child that I cared for as a hospice nurse, and this story was given to me. This little angel came shortly after he passed, and I watched that story happen.
What do you mean? I don't want to give away the book, but
I know. Well, it's an illustrated children's book, but it's a story that starts in heaven and ends in heaven.
Oh.
And so it's about two best friends. I'm not going to say a whole lot, but
no, you don't have
this little child comes with a healing gift to Earth, and he knows before he comes that he will only be here for a short time, but he brings a gift of healing for his family.
And that's beautiful, because so often there's children that are lost, and to try to make sense of that is very, very difficult. As well as we can say positive things, and when you're actually going through the grief of losing a child. So that's awesome. And then now more about children. You have Our Children Live On, Miraculous Moments for the Bereaved.
So that is mostly parents' experiences of their children after they've died. Their firsthand experiences. They author their stories. I think there's about 75 stories in there.
How'd you go about collecting those?
The journey of life, like those people that you talk to on the airplane.
Yeah.
But not just that. Honestly, the Angel book brought me in touch with a lot of families who had had amazing experiences with their children after they had died. I put in the back of the book that I was working on another book. Honestly, The Angel with the Golden Globe kind of happened to me. Miraculous Moments, which Our Children Live On, is like the companion book to that. The two would have been one book, except that I had too many stories, and the publisher, which was Llewellyn Worldwide, the publisher had me divided into two books.
Yeah, so Miraculous Moments came first, true stories affirming that life goes on.
So that and Our Children Live On, both of them have lots of stories of after-death communication, a few, some stories of nearing death awareness, that heightened spiritual state that the dying enter, before they pass, and then also near-death experiences, people who have died, been brought back to life, and tell you what happened on the other side. So the difference between the two books is Our Children Live On is mostly told by bereaved parents, some siblings, some healthcare professionals, what have you. But it could be not just a little child. It could, and there's actually 4 stories in there that have to do with miscarriage, experiences that the moms had after they miscarried.
Really?
Yeah. And but all different ages, even up to the loss of an adult daughter who died of breast cancer. There's all different. And then we know there's lots of lots of families lose children to sudden death, whether it's drug overdose or suicide or a car accident. So lots of stories to support those families and the journeys that these parents went through to help them. Some share a little, some share how they got through it.
Yeah, how about in the world of suicide? Because that's a tough one, and we'd all like to believe that there's no punishment for suicide, and it's that. Any words of wisdom on if someone has lost a child to suicide?
Well, that they can still be around in their lives, and these parents are telling you that. And honestly, it's interesting. You were talking about your dad physically suffering before he died. But surely these parents who have lost children to suicide and the families suffer so much after the suicide.
Definitely. Because
there's always this question of what did I miss? Could I have done something? Should I have acted sooner or, whatever. And there's always this, and why? And clearly that soul, found that suffering on this earth plane was too much to bear. It was too much for them to bear for whatever reason. And sometimes, just like your dad led you to what your work is right now, I really sometimes feel like, these parents in their desperate search to find wholeness again, to find peace in their hearts, if it's at all possible ever, will lead them to finally connecting with their child in a new way. And there's a great book, and you may have never heard of this book, but I feel it's very helpful for families who've experienced the child who took his life from suicide. And the recommendation was given to me by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross through one of her newsletters years ago. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, the Swiss psychiatrist who very much raised awareness about the needs of the dying in the 60s,
Right.
60s, 70s, And anyway, Elizabeth recommended this book, and it's called Stephen Lives. And it's written by Anne Puryear, Puryear. And it talks about this mom's struggle with the loss of her son. I think he was 15 or 16 when he took his life. And how she gets through it. And there's notes that he's left. And anyway, she ends up communicating with him, learning through her meditation how to connect with him. And the story goes on. And it's been a pretty powerful agent to help families walk that journey.
That's great.
Journey.
Yeah, I've not heard of that. And I do know from everyone that I've talked to and interviewed and mediums, and there's no punishment of any kind. No, that you believe in. I don't want to say God or Jesus, because not everyone believes in those terminologies, but there is only good, I believe, and from what I've heard as well, and everybody gets this unconditional love. And it's pretty messy being a human being. Some people have bad vision and health issues, and the issues of the mind are very real. But
remember, everything, I think that there's a lesson and a blessing in every experience. So it's up to us to figure out what is it that we need to learn through the experience so we can move on. What's the gift in that experience? Even through suffering, there's a gift. Like, look at the gift that you received through sharing that suffering with your dad. And look at the amazing difference you're making in the world in the lives of all these people. Same thing with the little baby that I cared for that inspired, the angel with the golden glow. Yes, that was so difficult for the family at the time, but he has touched thousands of families, helping them through their journey.
Elissa,
so there's purpose.
Yeah, I've believed in life after death for a while, and when Dad died, the grief was so horrific, and it took almost 4 years, and I wasn't in intense grief that whole time, but it took like years before I actually felt like Sandra again. Like, I actually felt like whatever this dark cloud was lifted, and a lot sounds good, like what's the gift in this situation, but I know people that have been absolutely stuck in their grief and kind of can't get through it. Do you have any advice? Because when you're in the thick of grief, sometimes, yes, I know for a fact from so many of the listeners and readers of my book that just believing in life after death certainly does help. But there is a dynamic of the pain that we're feeling that it's hard to move through. So any advice?
Well, first off, grief is real and tangible and even physical in the body. Everybody grieves in different ways. And it really depends on that, not only the uniqueness of that individual, but the type of loss they had. Was it a young person, an old person? Was it a tragic loss? Was it a sudden death? Was it a whatever? There's so many things that factor, but still it's a loss.
Right.
And so we have to process our pain. We have to move through the pain. We have to allow the pain, experience it, find those things that are going to help support you through that to heal, to get to the other side of it. I really feel that even getting body work is really helpful, like polarity therapy or, massage, or do more than just talking. You could get flower essences could help you, move through grief. There's lots of things, but I find doing 2 or 3 things simultaneously helps you move through things quicker. Also, when we lose someone, we're in the mindset that they're gone.
Yes. Big time.
And the truth is they aren't. They really can still be in our lives. I have this sense that our loved ones want to let us know right away that they're around, but our grief separates us from being able to see those subtle things that they're trying to show us. Mm-hmm. Kind of like, not to say in any way that there's a parallel here, but when I get a migraine, I it's just there for 5 days or whatever, and I just like try to dim down my awareness of the pain. But what happens when I do that is I miss a lot of the world around me, because that pain is so great. Like I miss all the other stuff around me. Well, the same thing, only way more intensified if you've lost a loved one, because your heart is really feeling physical pain. And so you really have to dim down the intensity of that pain so you can survive. And so you kind of like turned everything down on, just to try to take it a little bit at a time. But what happens is there's probably your loved ones trying to reach out to you, but they can't get through the grief. Now, the other thing is, have you ever, and I'm sure you remember this, there were times after your dad died that you just started crying out of nowhere.
Yes, I know all that. Just burst into tears.
Yeah. And now, of course, there's the triggers that we know that.
Yeah.
Where's your dad, or Father's Day, or, whatever.
Right.
The time that you always picked him up, called him on the telephone, and it's that time of the week or the day. But I'm not talking about the triggers. I'm talking about, like, you're just going on with life, and there it is, all of a sudden you burst out crying. My sense is that your dad was near. Your dad was trying to reach out to you because you were in a peaceful place. And he was trying to let you know, I'm here with you, Sandra. And you recognized his energy near you. And you remembered and started to cry and said, Dad, you're not with me. So I offer something to shift that, perhaps. Just dial it a little bit differently. And instead of saying, Dad, you're not here, how about shift it and say, Dad, thanks for coming.
And I want to share too, just to our listener, because sometimes I'm always afraid, my ego kicks in that, oh geez, there's Sandra asking about herself again and talking about her dad. Well, sometimes I bring up examples because, like, I want to be the example, because I know I'm not the only person who's lost a loved one. So my request is, if you're judging me right now, just to really look within your own life, because as Elissa says, I don't make a practice, even though I should, of, believing Dad's around and talking to him and things like that. But from what I've heard from so many, there's education to be had on the other side, or heaven, whatever you call it. But our loved ones really are only a thought and a heartbeat away. They can be there, and you can keep that dialogue up, right?
Yeah, and I do believe they're doing things on the other side, but they can be there. I think we think of them, and they're here in that instant. They can be there in that instant.
Mm-hmm. And we can ask for signs, and we can, I think as hard as it is for us sometimes to communicate with them and listen, it's got to be hard for them to work magic to be able to have a penny appear, or, the favorite song that you both shared, hear it on the radio, or whatever that may be. So
right.
Have a little compassion for
lots of after-death communication. We didn't even touch on that yet, but yes, you're right. So there's lots of different ways they reach out to us.
Yeah, what do you want to share about that too? I'm just looking at the clock, and we can go on a little bit longer.
What are the ways that we might experience them? Just ordinary people. Well, I think commonly we see our loved ones in dream time. Now, there's just regular dreams where we're processing our grief, we're crying, but there's the dreams where it's more than a dream. Maybe you're having a really particularly hard day, and and there they suddenly show up to let you know, I'm here with you. I'm here. You're not alone, right?
Right.
They may come with a message that you really needed to hear. They often look younger.
Oh, don't you love that?
Yeah, like really like in their prime, and those are things that we wouldn't normally even experience.
Right.
Right. Sometimes we hear, various forms of sound, like perhaps we, hear their voice call out our name. Or here was one example, this woman who was really close to her grandmother, and her grandmother had died, and this is an adult woman who was out, on a shopping trip with a dear friend, and they'd gone shopping, and she gets she's in the passenger seat. She gets in and she has all these packages, and she intentionally didn't put her seatbelt on because she wanted to show her friend who was driving the car, oh yeah, this is what I got. This is what I got.
Right.
And she didn't put her seatbelt on. Well, she's driving along, and then, all of a sudden, she hears her grandmother's voice, like scream in her head, put your seatbelt on now. Or actually, I think she says, for God's sakes, put your seatbelt on now.
Uh-huh.
And so she quick stops and she jumps and she puts it on. And then lo and behold, there's this, accident that proceeds to happen with this, huge tractor trailer truck. Their car flips like twice over, lands upside down, and she wasn't even hurt. She had her seatbelt on.
I'm shaking my head. You can't see me, but I'm like, oh my gosh, wow.
And that's a really true story. And this, that's an example. I mean, now that's a very dramatic example. Most people don't hear that, but I'm just saying, you could hear the voice, and that was as clear as a bell, and it really saved her life.
Right.
Other things, people might hear a song playing, like this, maybe it's your song that the two of you shared, and here it is, this special, either you're having a hard time, or maybe it's your anniversary, and there's your anniversary, the song that you danced to at your wedding. Or sometimes, baby, little ones, maybe they've lost a little baby, and maybe their musical toys start playing.
Yes.
That nobody's touching it, and there it is.
Mm-hmm.
I've even had people tell me, this one mom told me that after her adult daughter, and I think she had died from breast cancer, it was like 3 months before she could really get herself to like clean up her place, her apartment, and she's over there cleaning it up, and then all of a sudden the blinking light goes on the answering machine. So she goes to play it. It's her daughter's voice.
Wow.
And the only thing, that's exactly what she said. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It was her voice said, wow. Like you just did.
There are so many stories, and I continue to meet people and have people write me, and there's a fellow I want to interview whose name is Dave, and he's got something called a ghost box. I'm like, what the heck is that? And here the guy is got a professional job, and it's as we hear sometimes messages come through the phone, text messages come through. It's something that distorts radio signals, and here's this regular guy who never even believed in this, and he'll ask a question, and a voice will come through, and it's like, so some things sound crazy, some things you have to maybe take with a grain of salt, like, well, but once you start investigating some of these things, there's some real prominent people with unbelievable stories, and so some of my interviews may be a little weird and some pretty mainstream, but if any of these things interest you, just dig into it. I don't think, Elissa, that there's a lot of people that are really out sharing it, because it's a very personal thing. I often we're afraid, what will people think if we share that, here we are believing in life after death and pursuing it. But like we had said in the beginning, so many more people are open than you would ever imagine.
For sure.
And
sure.
Not having the fear of dying, if we can really get there in our lives, I think will lend to us not having a fear of living,
Yes. Well, and if you live as fully as you possibly can, during your life, then there's no fear of dying. There shouldn't be a fear of dying because you've done everything you needed to do.
Yeah. How about will we be coming back? Like if we don't do everything we want to do?
I believe we will.
Yeah, I do too.
I believe we will. And, and we certainly hear those people who've had the near-death experiences who are sent back. There's a few of them who are sent back. They're not given a choice of whether they're going to stay or go. They're said, you are going to go back because you are not done yet. You have to go back, care for your mom, or there's still work for you to do. They may come back with the awareness of what they still have left to do on this earth. So I believe when we're not done, we definitely come back to complete that.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I'll admit this, I'm not great at recycling stuff. But I do think in the whole cosmic space, like we are recycled. Like really, what would be the point of having a baby just come in for a month? It's like, that's it? That's the only chance you get? No, maybe there's a purpose to it, and then we do it again and we do it again.
I think there is. I really believe like we were born in God's perfection, created as perfect, and we come back, each time to help us return to that perfection.
Yeah. Elissa, our time's coming to an end, but I want you to look down into your soul. What haven't you said? What do you want to say? Any closing thoughts? Anything that I haven't asked you that I really should have?
Well, I just want to say that to your listeners, please know that your loved ones love you just as much now. Those who've passed over love you just as much now as they ever did. That love is eternal. It does not change because they are not here in the physical with you. They love you forever and will always be there. So if you need them, just ask. Just ask. And even if you don't ask, they will still be there for you in your time of need.
Yeah, you just have to trust that. And will we see them again?
For sure. 100%.
100% for sure. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I do. And often we can't listen to the little voice in our head. We have to, keep listening to stories. That's why I like this show. I listen to other shows. I read lots of books. Because left to our own devices, it's somebody once said, the mind is a terrible place to go alone or something like that, just because we can stew upon the wrong things. We're thinking about the past. We're worried about the future. We're never in the present moment. So put your mind on something that'll make a difference, yeah, go ahead.
Isn't it a comforting thought, though, to think that your loved ones are there to help you cross, even when you die? You didn't die alone.
Yeah, it's really, really, really great. Well, Elissa, thank you. Thank you for being on the show.
You are most welcome. Thank you so very, very much for having me. It was a great pleasure.
Yeah, and we're going to have to get together for a cup of coffee or something, neighbor, because it is so funny that we live so close. It really is funny. And to our listener, thank you yet again for being here, for taking the time to listen. And if this is the first time you've listened to We Don't Die Radio, I want you to keep listening because there's really been some great interviews. And if you want to find out more, we're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher. If you go to WeDon'tDieRadio.com, every episode you can go there and download it or press the play button. I want to remind you, please go to WeDon'tDieRadio.com, and I've got all the links to Elissa's books there, and you can find Elissa at miraculousmoments.com or go to her Facebook page, which is Miraculous Moments. And in closing, this is Sandra Champlain. I do believe with all of my heart that life is an education for the soul and that your life here on earth is important. And just remember, love is all around. Your loved ones are all around. There's a warm, welcoming light and unconditional love in those final moments, and not to be afraid of death. I guess that's all I have to say. So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you soon.